Hare Rama, Krishna okay?
Yeah.
Hari.
We just start early. The station close.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So when I say Hare Krishna, everyone, that's your cue to say? It's his first time, so you don't have to ignore it. So, Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Let's try it again. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
So nice to have you all with us. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday morning. I know there are many things you could be doing on a nice sunny day in New York City other than being here. So I'd like to congratulate you for being here, and I hope I didn't remind you of all the things you wanted to do other than being here. But we're very happy to have you for the Bhagavat Sravana program today. And we have some guests from Houston, and we also have, you're also from Houston?
No, New Jersey. I used to come.
Okay. Okay, so you're old timers, you're veterans. You don't need...
Our temple is Tuwaku temple.
Oh, Tuwaku
Yeah, we
temple,
go every
okay.
Sunday.
That's his temple as well, but he's
I know.
defected.
Long time.
Yeah. So nice to have you. We also have Adam, who's here, I think, for the first time. Well, not first time, you were here a couple of years ago, right? Second time, so nice to have you back, Adam. And yes, we do this every Sunday. And today we have a very wonderful and special guest speaker who's returning with us for maybe the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th time to continue speaking and enlightening and inspiring us. So I'll give a little introduction. So this is Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, and he works as a software engineer in an investment bank, we're not going to say which one, in Jersey City. He came to the U.S. and to the Bhakti Center in 2017, is that correct? And he was just a young man then, and he's still a young man. He holds a master's degree in computer science from sunny Stony Brook, S-U-N-Y, not sunny Stony Brook. Got introduced to Krishna consciousness during an undergrad in Pune, in India. Anyone here knows of Pune? Or Pune? I could never figure it out. Some people from there say Pune, some people from there say Pune. So I'm still on the fence on that one. Some of his wonderful sevas here include presenting Krishna consciousness in the form of discussions, discourses, and different writings. He also assists with the 22nd Avenue Matchless Gifts program, and also here at the Bhakti Center. He's a very wonderful devotee. We met first time in Pune. Way back, what year was that? 2013, so many years ago. And I was very happy to meet with him again here in New York. And the topic for your class today is?
So personalities in the Bhagavatam who waited for Krishna.
Okay, personalities in the Bhagavatam who waited for Krishna. Anyone here is waiting for Krishna? Okay, so you might be, some of you already found Krishna. Oh, there he is. Looks like we're not waiting for him. Okay, so without further ado, we'd like to welcome and thank His Grace Jagannath Gopal for taking time out of his busy schedule. He's also a husband and a father, and very, very engaged in so many different activities. So thank you so much, Jagannath Gopal. His Grace Jagannath Gopal Prabhu Ki Jai!
I studied in sunny Stony Brook, but my days became sunny when I started coming to the Bhakti Center in the US. So, just to Jai Radha Mata. Jai Radha Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavati uttamaśloke bhaktirbhavati naishiki. Krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaaya cha Nandagopakumaraya govindaya namo namah. Hare Krishna. So, I welcome all of you dear devotees. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be in your presence, to be in the presence of the deities, to receive this garland. And yeah, it's as Jayantai Prabhu mentioned, we could have been in so many places, but here we are trying to understand Krishna, trying to go closer to Him, trying to understand about our wait for Krishna. So I seek blessings from all of you, all the senior Vaishnavas, so that we can discuss something that is uplifting to all of us, which is in line with the Guru Parampara, and which takes us closer to Krishna. So which festival did we celebrate on Friday? It was the appearance of Lord Balaram. So, and Deembandhu Prabhu, who spoke that day, very beautifully he mentioned how Lord Balaram represents which principle of Krishna? Guru Tattva. Balaram represents Guru Tattva. And one of the points he mentioned was Balaram is the wielder of the plough. And a plough is used to till the soil and make it softer for the crops to grow. Similarly, our heart is like the soil where the creeper of bhakti or love for Krishna or Krishna himself manifests. So, through his manifestation as Guru Tattva, Lord Balaram, through his plough, he tills the soil of our heart and makes it suitable for bhakti to manifest, for the creeper of bhakti to start growing. So that was a very wonderful analogy he gave, and I was very touched by that. And that tilling process is actually facilitated by all our gurus, the Vaishnavas who are guiding us. in the form of the instructions that come from them, in the form of Madhurya Leela Gunarupa Namnam. So in the Guru Ashtakam it is said that the Guru is relishing these Madhurya Leela Gunarupa Namnam, the pastimes of the Lord, names of the Lord, qualities of the Lord, and so on. So when those instructions, those sound vibrations come to us, that's the process of tilling. And when the sadhaka or when the spiritual practitioner receives those sound vibrations and implements life according to those sound vibrations, then that's when the tilling happens, and the process of removing the obstacles in the heart that hinder us from going towards Krishna, that takes place. It is technically known as anartha nivritti. Nivritti is the giving up of, and anarthas is these knots in our heart, these unwanted desires, unwanted qualities in our heart. Now, when one starts bhakti, it is said that for a practicing devotee, the journey of bhakti is like going into a tunnel, a long tunnel. Because so in a long tunnel, you enter and then it's dark for a long time. If you have ever driven through a tunnel, and I just came through a tunnel, and as soon as you enter the tunnel, you sort of start thinking, okay, where is the end of this, right? And now the tunnel, which is analogous to the journey of removing the unwanted things in the heart, is a long one, and it can take lifetimes, right? So when it takes lifetimes, we might wonder, oh my God, so we have come into the tunnel, we can't look back and go. We can, of course, but then we have some faith that we are in the right process, yet we are not seeing the end, we are not seeing that light. Maybe we see that light in some glimpses when Krishna awards us some glimpses of happiness, joy, inner spiritual joy. We see that light on the other end, but then it's still a long way to go. And then that is where the aspect of waiting comes. So we wait patiently. There are 6 principles said in the Nectar of Instruction by Rupa Goswami, which are favorable to bhakti. Utsaha, Nishaya, Dhairya, Tattat Karma Pravartana, Sangha Tyagat, Sato Vritte, Shadvid Bhakti Prasiditi. So there are 6 things that are favorable to bhakti. What are those 6 things? Utsahan, which is enthusiasm, and Nishchaya is strength, like Dridhata or determination, yes. Sorry? Confidence, determination, yes. Utsaha, Nishchaya, Dhairya is patience. Tattat Karma Pravartana, we do the activities that we are prescribed to do in a proper consciousness. Sangha Tyagat, leaving or not getting ourselves affected by the materialistic association or materialistic ideologies. And Sato Vritte, following in the footsteps of the great souls. So these are the 6 things that are, you can say in a way, which make the process of waiting for Krishna interesting. On one hand, Rupa Goswami is saying become utsaha, become enthusiastic and become confident. But on the very next quality, he says, wait, hold on, be patient. Be patient, it's a long tunnel, and you have heaps and heaps of anarthas to clear out, and it will take some time. So that wait is something which is very interesting, and it can be made just like a lover is waiting for their lover, and they are waiting, but then as they are waiting, they are actually constantly thinking of their lover. So similarly, the process of bhakti, although on one hand waiting might sound very tedious, God, when are you going to appear? Enough. But then on the other hand also, because it's Krishna whom we are waiting for, remembrance of Krishna being not different from Krishna, it helps us be happy even in the wait. Okay, so that is some background. So today I was thinking, Balram Jayanti was on Friday, and the next Saturday is Krishna Janmashtami. So when Bhavabhakti Mataji reached out to me for today, I said, yeah, I'm happy to give a class, I'm happy to do the discussion, but I just don't know the topic. And then she recommended that since we are between festivals, why don't you do something related to that, related to Krishna Balram? Then I thought, sure, this is very nice. So thanks to her that I thought, okay, let's try to see some personalities in the Bhagavatam who are waiting for Krishna. And now Balram has appeared. Now Krishna is yet to appear. And Prabhupada writes in his purports that typically pregnancies today take like 36 weeks, 38 weeks, 9 months roughly. But we are talking about Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord. Everything is transcendental here. So Prabhupada writes in his purports that the actual difference between Krishna and Balaram was 15 days. So Balaram was born after 15 days, Krishna was born. So it's all spiritual in nature. So sometimes we might wonder, we might try to impose our materialistic frameworks on these spiritual topics. But then that doesn't work because these are spiritual histories and they don't necessarily conform to our ways of thinking. So Prabhupada writes that 15 days. So then we are actually in that 15 days. One might also ask, oh, it was 15 days and why is Janmashtami 1 week after Balram Jayanti? That is again, there are various principles of time and all which change as you pass, because this was 5,000 years ago. So a scholarly historian would do all the calculations and they can ascertain the reason why it's 1 week now and it was 15 days back then and so on. But anyway, we are not worried about technicalities. So Prabhupada writes in one purport about Krishna's path, Krishna's route to Dwarka from some place, I think, from Hastinapur to Dwarka. So then he writes that historians today are trying to recover those places, or trying to discover those places from where Krishna went, all those places. But then as far as we are concerned, we are not so worried about that. We are not so worried about these technicalities. We are just worried about how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees when he reaches Dwarka. Right. So anyway, coming back to this waiting of Krishna. So let's just begin by if I had to ask you, which personalities in the Bhagavatam waited for Krishna? Who appeared? They can be positive, they can be negative, they can be anyone. Kamsa, yes. Kamsa is the first person who was very eagerly waiting for Krishna. But his wait for Krishna was actually inspired by his desire to kill Krishna as soon as he appears. But then he was waiting for Krishna very eagerly. And so what we do is, I have like 3 personalities and each of the 3 personalities. Now, the motivation for someone to wait for Krishna actually tells a lot about what motivation we should have as well in practicing spiritually, or what motivation we should not have in the case of Kamsa. So Kamsa represents the consciousness that Krishna is an impediment to my progress. So it is interesting that, and here of course progress, it's important to define progress also, because in this particular case of Kamsa, progress meant his own selfish enjoyment. And and he saw Krishna as a hindrance to that. And why did he see that? The story goes back to a few days before this. Actually, on the day of his sister Vasudeva, who is Krishna's birth mother, Devaki, who is Krishna's birth mother, she gets married to Vasudeva. And then the culture at that time is that the brother of the bride, he takes her and her husband to their home. So Kamsa is taking Vasudeva and Devaki in the chariot, and then he gets this celestial voice. He hears a celestial voice that says, "You fool! You are so nicely taking your sister and her husband to their home. But do you know that the 8th child of your own sister is going to be the cause of your death?" And as soon as he hears this, till now he is very affectionate to his sister Kamsa. He's very affectionate. He's, there's like the brotherly affection that someone would have for their sister. But then as soon as he hears this voice, celestial voice, his mood completely changes, 180 degrees. Now he's ready to kill Devaki. He's ready to kill his own sister. Why? Because he thinks that death is an impediment to his enjoyment. And because death is going to be brought about for me by Krishna, then or Vishnu, Vishnu is an impediment to my progress. So here the progress for him is the selfish sense enjoyment. And interestingly, Kamsa, so if anybody here knows the language Marathi, or Sanskrit also, the Sanskrit term Kans means a bracket. So Kans means like this bracket. So bracket signifies incompleteness because a bracket is not a full circle, right? It's a part of the circle. So what was the incompleteness in Kamsa's understanding? The incompleteness was that he thought by being dead, I'll become irrelevant. And this was his fear actually, that by being dead, I'll become irrelevant. It will be a full stop to my sense gratification, my sense enjoyment. Right? And that is why I need to take out everyone, anything and anyone who comes in my path of sense enjoyment and my path of so-called permanence. Right? So this is very instructive for us also, because we often, today the world is gripped by depression, today the world is gripped by so many psychological illnesses, and one of the prime reasons for that is people don't feel relevant, and we sometimes don't feel relevant. We don't know what role we are supposed to play in the scheme of the world and things like that, and we feel we are irrelevant. But then this transcendental knowledge of Krishna consciousness, one of the initial teachings itself is that you are a part and parcel of Krishna. So because you are a part and parcel of Krishna, there is relevance to you, there is eternal relevance to you. Because you are a part and parcel of Krishna, you can then try to align your life in according to God's desire, according to Krishna's desire, and that way spread happiness in the world. So that way, that relevance, there is unlimited relevance to our existence, right? But when we don't have that integration, we don't have an integrated way of thinking, we feel like no, death or anything else that hinders my sense enjoyment, that hinders my selfish motivations, that is a cause for my irrelevance. Right? So the transcendental knowledge of Krishna, about Krishna and about our own identity. So the first thing is that spiritual life teaches us that we are not the body, we are the spirit souls. And the second thing that it teaches is that you are not only spirit souls, you are the part and parcel of the ultimate, supreme spirit, that is Krishna. And that way, that gives us purpose in life. And so that makes it a complete circle. Then we realize that yes, death is not a full stop, rather it's more like a comma, and there is more existence after that. And that my journey doesn't end with this. My spiritual journey, my journey of waiting for Krishna doesn't end with death, and it continues. So when we see Krishna as an impediment to our progress, that is the Kamsa-like mentality. And so this is what most atheists for today, you can think of it like that. The atheistic mentality is that if God is in the picture, that means there is some sort of accountability to my actions. But if one does not want accountability for their actions, they want to remove God from the picture, and then it continues like that. So, So that is about Kamsa, as the consciousness that Krishna is an impediment to my progress, and progress here being sense enjoyment, the pursuit of hedonism. Okay. Anyway, so this is the first example. So Kamsa was waiting for Krishna. Why was he waiting for Krishna? He was waiting for Krishna so that as soon as Krishna appears, he was going to kill him. And the reason being that integration. So even when we do come to spiritual life, sometimes that we are not it takes some time for us to become integrated, because we are here in the material realm and Krishna is there in the spiritual realm. So it's like going back to the example of tilling the soil. The soil in our heart is hard, and we can't just take a hammer and hit it. the soil will break, the hard soil will break. But it's a slow process of integration, and when we integrate, when we reconcile our current material existence with how that fits into God's plan, then that is when we become integrated, and that is when we can organically grow towards Krishna. So this is the first, Krishna is an impediment to my progress. Any thoughts or any reflections over here? So as devotees, we don't see Krishna as an impediment to our progress. At least, we are not supposed to. Right? But that is the next level. So as devotees, what happens? Somebody who is on the path of, some sort of spiritual path, and they come from a very hedonistic mentality. They are thinking that Krishna is an impediment to my progress, but then God is impediment to my progress, but then somehow or the other, because of contemplation, because of good advice, good association, they graduate to a higher level. And what is that? That higher level is Krishna is the remover of impediments to my progress. So the first one is Krishna is the impediment to my progress, and the second one is Krishna is the remover of the impediments to my progress. And who is the example here, do you think, in Krishna Leela, who was waiting for Krishna and had? Sorry? Devaki, Vasudeva, sure, in one sense, but they are actually even higher than this. So Kamsa was one person waiting for Krishna. Who else was waiting for Krishna? Oh, in Krishna Leela. Sorry, I just want to make the scope clear. This is within Krishna Leela, within the 10th canto. And to make it even more specific, it's within the first 2 chapters of 10th canto.
I know.
Yeah.
The demigods.
Demigods, and especially Bhumi Devi, because Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth. So in the first chapter of the 10th canto, the story begins by about Krishna's birth, with Mother Earth in the form of a cow approaching Lord Brahma, and she expressed to Lord Brahma that there are all these, and she uses words which are very interesting. She says she was disturbed by the various conceited demons dressed like kings. So Kamsa, he was, we call it demoniac, but he was not in the demoniac species of humans. He was actually a Yadu. He was actually in the dynasty in which Krishna appeared. So, Mother Earth, in the form of a cow, is expressing to Lord Brahma that I'm disturbed by all these, people dressed as kings, but they are actually demoniac in mentality. They are actually greedy in mentality, and they are exploiting me. So, someone said that the world has enough for everybody's needs, but it does not have enough for even one person's greed. Was it Mahatma Gandhi? I think it was. I don't remember who, but somebody said that. So Mother Earth was actually getting disturbed by these kings, and so she went to Lord Brahma to express her desire, and she wanted this impediment removed. She wanted this impediment of these kings to be removed. Right? So here, of course, now what happens is progress here is sense enjoyment in the first case, and progress here is also sense enjoyment in some ways, pious kind of sense enjoyment, but beyond that, it can also be liberation. So when we, the consciousness that Krishna is the remover of the impediments to my progress here could mean sense enjoyment, wherein we see Krishna as an awarder of opportunities for sense enjoyment. In the Gita, Krishna says, out of the 4 kinds of people, one of them is one who is the desire of wealth, and then there is the one who is distressed. So Krishna is the remover of the impediments to my progress, and now this is also important for us as sadhakas, because where do we go when we are in difficulty is very important, and we might practice devotional service as a means to achieve liberation from material entanglement, and that is also a noble cause for which one practices bhakti, although not the highest one, but it is a noble cause. At least there one has realized that there is no happiness in this world, there is no true happiness in this world, or there is true happiness but it's not long lasting. So let me try to, reach some place, some situation where there is unending happiness. So that consciousness is there. That consciousness can be there. So Krishna, one of the Krishna's names is Mukunda. Mukunda means the liberator of one who gives liberation. Right? And it says that in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu again it says Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udaridhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So it says whether you are full of desires, whether you are with no desire, or whether you are desiring mukti or liberation, just practice Krishna consciousness. Tivrena bhakti yogena. Right? So both these things are there. In the consciousness that Krishna is the remover of the impediments to my progress. There is pious enjoyment, there could be liberation, and Krishna is going to award me that if I practice spiritual life in some way or the other. Right? So so when we have difficulty and when we go to Krishna, one of the things to remember is Krishna may not reciprocate with us or liberate us from the difficulty in the way we expect him to do. He might do it in various other ways. Like for example, Draupadi, when she was brought into the Asat Sabha or the gambling arena, and if you all know the story where the Pandavas who are the righteous kings or princes, and then the Kauravas who are the unrighteous, the villains of the story. So they have a gambling match, and then in the gambling match, through deceit, the Kauravas they win over the Pandavas, these righteous 5 people, and then as one of the things they win over is their wife. So the Pandavas, the righteous people's wife, the prince's wife, and then they have her brought in the arena where this gambling match was happening, and they try to strip her. And when they try to strip her, she tries to go to all the elders in that assembly, and she chides them, she chastises them. What are you doing? An innocent person is getting stripped like this, and you're not even doing anything. You're just sitting silently. Do something. But nobody does. Due to various technicalities, reasons, and whatever confusions, nobody does anything. And her husbands, they have lost themselves to the villains, so they even can't do anything. And then finally she just surrenders to Krishna. She just, where do we go in our difficulty? So she just raises her hand and surrenders to Krishna and says, now you do what you want. Govinda, Madhava, please do what you want. And then there, Krishna, to everyone's astonishment, he gives her unlimited sari. It's like the person, the villain, he's pulling her sari to strip her, but then it's never ending. So Krishna manifested himself like that. So Krishna may not manifest in the way that we might expect, but then he does manifest. So in one sense, we might think, if I pray to Krishna, is he going to listen to me? If I pray to these deities, Radha, Muralidhar, Gaurachandra, are they going to listen to me? Are they going to reciprocate with me? Well, yes, because actually I just heard a few days ago that one of my mentors was sharing that it is said in the Shastra that Krishna is actually closer to us even than our own breath. So when we pray to Krishna, Krishna is very close to us. He knows what we are going through, and he will award us the reciprocation according to how it uplifts us in our journey towards him. So that is one consciousness that we can have, and it's good to have that consciousness that Krishna is the remover of the impediments to my progress. Because if not Krishna, then who else? Right? At least if I go to Krishna for removing my impediments, he's going to make sure that I go closer to him, right? In the process. So Krishna is much closer to us than we can imagine, and as soon as we desires something, he orchestrates the world in such a way that that desire gets fulfilled. Time might separate it, but that does happen. Right? So yes, Krishna as the impediment to my progress. Krishna is the remover of impediments to my progress. What do you think can be the next level? Or rather, who else was waiting for Krishna? Oh, this is really interesting. But Gopis, they were waiting for Krishna, yes. Yeah.
Oh, has to get the first two chapters?
Yeah, I mean, Gopis, yeah.
Vasudeva Devi.
Yes. Yes, we get to them. They were waiting for Krishna.
Okay.
Somebody else, this is very unexpected, but somebody else was also waiting for Krishna. Mother Yashoda, sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, as soon as, if you give me an answer that I'm not expecting that, I'll just say sure. Sure.
Was it a Brahmin too?
No.
Give us a hint.
Hint, he was a Yadu.
He.
Actually, there were many, but they are all represented, you can say, by one person.
2%.
Close, but not.
Buddha. No.
Okay, I'll give it away. It's Akrura. So in the purports, yeah, it's interesting. I was also surprised when I read it, but I thought it's a very interesting thing. So in the purports, Prabhupada says that there were these senior Yadus. So what happened is when Kamsa was a king, was a so-called Yadu who was actually demoniac in nature, and he wanted to conquer everybody, and he wanted to conquer the world, and he wanted to enjoy like that. And then whoever would, be an obstruction to him, he would try to take them out. So because of fear for him, and he was a very powerful guy, so because of fear for him, a lot of the Yadu dynasty people, they scattered away in different places and they were hiding. And Rohini, the mother of Lord Balaram, was also actually hiding in Gokul, in the where Nanda Maharaj was ruling the kingdom there. Well, not even a kingdom, but the group of the cowherd men there. So she was hiding, and there were so many people that they were hiding. But there were some very senior Yadus. They continued to work under Kamsa. They continued to work under Kamsa with the expectation that Krishna will be born here, the Supreme Lord will be born here, and we will get to witness the birth and the activities of the Supreme Lord. So that Prabhupada mentions in our book, that is the only reason for which Akrura and these other senior Yadus who were righteous people, who were great devotees of the Lord, they were waiting, they were working under Kamsa, but they were expecting to see, they were waiting to see Krishna, they were waiting to witness Krishna's appearance. Shri Shri Radha Muralidhar Bhagwan ki jai. Shri Shri Govardhan Bhagwan ki jai. Shri Radha Gopal. So that is Akrura and the Yadus. Of course, there are so many other people that we could say were waiting for Krishna. We can discuss that later, but yeah. Akrura fits into this Krishna and progress framework. So Krishna as an impediment to my progress is Kamsa. Krishna is the remover of impediments to my progress is Bhumi Devi. Of course, Bhumi Devi is a pure devotee, but this is what she's representing here. And then Krishna is the object of my progress. So we can see Krishna as a hindrance to my sense enjoyment, like the atheists do, or we can see Krishna as a giver of my enjoyment. But then even higher than that is we see Krishna himself as our object of love, as the object of our progress. And progress here is again, so these are increasingly higher levels of definition of progress. Right? So progress here is Prema Pumarkaman, going closer to Krishna as the ultimate goal of life. Right? And this is what Akrura represented. And this is again, wanting Krishna versus wanting his resources, which is more fulfilling. Right? So, of course, here if I ask you which is more fulfilling, you will definitely say, yeah, wanting Krishna is more fulfilling because that is the title of the slide. But there are so many stories that demonstrate this. When so there was a time before the war of Kurukshetra, when Duryodhana and Arjuna had to choose, Duryodhana really wanted the army of Krishna because the Yadus were a big kingdom and they were going to participate in the war as well. So they were a big kingdom, and then Duryodhana really wanted. Duryodhana was thinking in terms of numbers, and he wanted the Yadu army to be on his side in the battle. And so Arjuna also wanted to ask something, but he was more inclined towards Krishna. And then when they both went to Krishna, and again it's a long story how Duryodhana sits at near Krishna's head, and Arjuna sits near Krishna's feet, and then when somebody is sitting at your feet when you're sleeping, as soon as you wake up you see them, right? Similarly Krishna saw Arjuna, but then he still said, then he asked Arjuna, because I saw you get to choose what you want. You have two options, choose me or choose my army. So he asked Arjuna, and then Arjuna said, I don't want anything, I don't want your army, dear Krishna, I want you. And Duryodhana is jumping in joy as soon as he hears this. Yes, this is what I wanted. And then he gets the Krishna's army. But yet, it is said that there was a 7 to 11 difference, like there was some 7 million soldiers in Pandava's side, and there was some 11 million or something, I don't know if it's million or billion, but 7 to 11 is the ratio. Yet, because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas, they came out victorious. Similarly, in the case of Dhruv Maharaj also, so Dhruv Maharaj was another 5-year-old kid who wanted a kingdom greater than his father's, and that is why his mother told him that you should go to the forest. And again, it's a long story which I'll not get into, but he got this advice from his mother that you should go to the forest. What to speak of a kingdom greater than your father's? What you receive from the love that you will receive from Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu or Krishna is actually more than the love of 1,000,000 mothers combined. So then he says, okay, sure, but it doesn't really strike him at that point. He still goes with the intention that I want a kingdom greater than my father's. So he goes there and then he performs all these austerities. He is graced by Guru Tattva. He is graced by Narad Muni, who comes as his guru, and he gives him instructions. And then by following Narad Muni's instructions, then finally the Lord appears to him. The Lord Vishnu physically appears to Dhruv Maharaj. And then that time Dhruva, he's so in ecstasy by seeing the Lord that he loses his desire for the kingdom. So then that's where the famous quote, which is very often quoted in spiritual circles, that I was praying for broken pieces of glass, meaning the kingdom and everything, but I received invaluable diamond in the form of you, dear Lord. So wanting Krishna versus wanting Krishna's resources, which is more fulfilling? It might seem in a conditioned stage that Krishna's resources are more fulfilling. And granted that Krishna's resources do give comforts, we do need comforts, right? So when I was driving, I was contemplating this point, but at the same time I was thinking, it will be really nice if I find parking right in front of the Bhakti Center. So do I want Radha Muralidhar or do I want the parking space in front of Radha Muralidhar's temple? Right? Wanting Krishna versus wanting his resources. Both the things are there. Now yes, if in the pursuit of wanting Radha Muralidhar I get that parking, sure, I can be grateful to Radha Muralidhar and can move on. But then that focus is Radha Muralidhar. I'm trying to get there, but what these great devotees demonstrate is that is their focus. They want Krishna. And then in case of Akrura, to such an extent that he is ready to risk his life actually. Because imagine Kamsa, there is this other story where these Brahmanas who are actually first inimical to Krishna, towards Krishna, but then they understand that Krishna is actually the Supreme Lord, so we should worship him. But then still they hesitate. They don't do it. They don't go through with worshipping Krishna. The reason being that they are fearful of Kamsa. What if Kamsa comes to know that we are worshipping Krishna? What if he punishes us? Right? But in case of Akrura, that was the purity, that was the intensity of his desire to witness Krishna's birth and activities, that he was under Kamsa's service. So that is the next one. Krishna is the object of my progress. And another example, now we come to Devaki. Now we come to Devaki. Congratulations. So, so Devaki is also an example of Krishna being the object of her progress. So she was in her previous lives also, Vasudeva and Devaki, they got the Supreme Lord as their son. Right? And then in this lifetime also they get the Supreme Lord as their son in the form of Vishnu. I think their previous life was Sutapa and Trishni, and then yeah. So now here, this is an interesting point here. So there is a symbolism that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur draws in the case of Devaki. So Devaki is considered as the devotee. She is symbolic of the devotee or the devotion, bhakti. Okay. And then Kamsa is the fear of material association. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that when a devotee has a fear of material association, and we'll discuss more about this fear of material association now. So, when a devotee has a healthy fear of material association, that ends up killing the 6 anarthas in the heart. And the 6 anarthas are symbolized by the 6 children of Devaki that were killed by Kamsa, the first 6 children. Right? So, this is the symbolism, this is the analogy, you can say that that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the Acharyas, he draws. And Prabhupada writes in one of his purports that the fear of material association, the fear of associating with anything or anyone that takes us away from Krishna, that fear actually is a healthy fear and it can help us get rid of the unwanted things in the heart. So this was actually quite far off in one sense for me to read as well. But one obvious question, and I was discussing with one of my friends last night, and he brought up a very relevant point. So when you say fear of material association, what is the obvious question that one might get?
What is material association?
Sure, we can let's define material association that any association that takes us away from Krishna consciousness. Okay, now you can't avoid it. Yes.
I guess maybe the question will be around fear.
Fear, yeah.
Because we're meant to be abhai, which means fearless, so why would we want to be afraid of anything?
Sure, that's one. Yeah. Actually, Prabhupada writes in another purport in, I think in the 13th chapter, he says that fear, desire, and what else? Kama, Krodha. Kama is desire. Anger. Fear, desire, and anger are there in the material world. They are like that is an aspect of the material world. But a pure devotee actually dovetails these 3 things in bhakti. And the way he dovetails anger is that he is angry towards those who blaspheme the Lord, those who blaspheme the Lord's devotees. He dovetails desire by desiring always to love Krishna, to do everything for Krishna. And then he dovetails fear by his fear of materialistic mentality. By his, the devotee actually does that discrimination that I have to stay away from this material constitution. So, but that's a good point. If it is, I read in another purport that the greatest charity is to avoid fearlessness, and we also sing Bhaja Ure Mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanaravindare. So the way I could reconcile that is on a very Uttamadhikari level, on a very elevated level of spiritual perfection, one is fearless, one doesn't have any fear. But as long as we are on the practicing level of devotional service, we have to discriminate. And that is actually one of the aspects of what we call as a Madhyamadhikari. A Madhyamadhikari. So there are 3 levels of devotee is what is mentioned in various commentaries and various shastras. One is the Kanishta. Kanishta is the preliminary, you can say, the devotee, neophyte. Prabhupada translates it as. So the neophyte he's just bothered about the deity in the temple. He's just bothered about Krishna. He doesn't care about Krishna's devotees. And then there are other aspects of Kanishta. Then the next is Madhyama, the next level. And one of the important aspects of Madhyama devotee is that he discriminates. He discriminates that this person is favorable to my bhakti, this person may not be favorable to my bhakti, so I'll try to balance it out in a way that I don't get too influenced by this other person. Right? And then Uttama, now Uttama level is very interesting, because in Uttama level one is so spiritually elevated that they are not seeing the externals at all. They, even if they would even see the spiritual spark within a criminal. They would see a spiritual spark within a criminal also, and they would think, yeah, I am the one who is fallen. Everybody else is a devotee of Krishna. That is a very high level of consciousness to be. So that is the Uttama level. But in a Madhyama, on a practical level of spiritual life, that discrimination happens. But the question that comes, if we say fear of material association, the question that comes is, how do we operate in the world? As you mentioned, it is unavoidable. So how do we operate in the world? Right? Is a question that, because we all work, most of us, we are in the professional world. We deal with people who may not be devotees per se, right? So how do we balance that out? Is the question. I sort of gave the hint to the answer to it, but if anyone wants to share, what if that fear paralyzes us from acting in the world? We do want to act in the world. Right? We do want to make a difference in the world. So.
Use the fear as a motivator.
Sorry?
Fear as a motivator
Fear as a motivator for?
to reach Krishna.
Yes. He hit the nail actually. That's where our discussion ended up last time. But yeah. So why is that fear, right? That is one point. Like that fear is ultimately meant for my spiritual elevation, and not even my spiritual elevation, but it's meant to take me closer to Krishna. Okay. So that is one. And what else? So even then, so you do have the fear, and that fear is rightly motivated, but do you stop operating in the world because of that fear? So, sorry.
You try to influence the world rather than be influenced by it.
Yes. Yeah. That sums it up very well. So,
Could you repeat?
so he said, we try to influence the world rather than being influenced by the world. And for me personally, when I think of that statement, I may not be capable of influencing the world in a very big way, but at least I can try not to get influenced by the world to whatever extent I can. So that is one way. So yes.
I was just gonna say, so I used to really be big on social media.
Mm.
I found that it was taking me to a space, a negative. I was big on social media and it took me to a negative space. So people ask me like, they didn't see me on Facebook, not Instagram anymore, and they're like, where did you go? And I said, well, I was tired of being influenced by the world, and when I sit in my own energy, I can influence myself. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a good way of looking
It's
at
just like taking everything out.
it. Yes. Roji wants to share.
After a couple of years working on myself, so now I came to a certainty, an inner certainty. Just my presence alone influenced the world positively. Just the presence and what I retain, my consciousness, my mind, my actions, my intentions, even without moving my body, I know it's impacting positively.
Your presence is impacting positively. Yeah, if you can.
Because the level of consciousness that I created, yes.
Okay. And do you mind sharing how did you create that level of consciousness? Sorry.
Every second counts, every day matters, every week matters, and how many time you spend towards divinity matters. So there's no shortcuts, it's just practice, 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 practice.
Thank you. Any other thoughts on this? What if that fear paralyzes us? And both of you very nicely mentioned that sometimes, just cutting ourselves out from whatever influences us in a negative way, we can be in that state of equanimity. And then, as Prabhu mentioned, by trying to connect to the divine every second, every minute, that is another way. Yes. Any other thoughts on this?
How do you, I have a question. What do you mean by fear? Like, in what way do you mean fear?
So, fear is, I don't know, like, I don't want to get into the textbook definition of fear, but in this case, by fear, I mean that something that is not aligned to my self-interest. Like, I'm afraid of something that is not aligned with my self-interest in that sense. So that is the fear. And
So that's the fear that you're saying that should be had.
yes, that is what the Shastras say, that we should have a fear. Again, that's where I want to come, If we have that fear that, this will, force me to stray away from my path, then how do we even operate in the world? Do I just stop doing everything?
Can you give a real life example?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Sundaran Prabhu wants to say something.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
It's actually healthy fear. Like, we fear fire. We can't, fire is there, we fear should not touch it.
Yeah.
Or there is a height is there, we fear I may fall. That's the kind of fear it is.
Yeah, that is like what fear is. Yeah. You want to say something?
Yeah, so I've been on a journey, I want to say for a long time, but mostly for 5 years.
Okay.
About 5 years. And I've gotten very, very close to God. I'm very new here. The closer to God I get, the less I fear.
Sure.
It's like an armor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, I really need to grasp this where you're saying like fear, because I'm like, I have no fear. And it's a dangerous almost. My friends get a little fearful of how I walk through the world, because I'm not scared of anything. And it's because it's not even belief. I know that God is with me, walking beside me. I feel every minute of the day. So, and the real life, I guess what you're saying, right? The real life.
Yeah, so Krishna also says like surrender all your works unto me with full knowledge of me.
Not fear.
And yeah, so I mean once you have that, in the back of your head, you can take higher risks, you can go in with confidence, and it's already been written by Krishna, but so I don't, so once you have that on the back of your mind, and I mean there's no need to fear.
Yeah, I agree. So what you both spoke about was like a very elevated level of, spiritual perfection. Like feeling the presence of God at every moment, feeling that surrender for God at every moment. Yes, that is definitely on that stage there is no fear of the world, right? But then it takes time to get to that level, and while we are on that journey, that discrimination has to happen, and it's from that perspective that, acharyas, the saintly people, they say that yes, while you're on the journey, you haven't yet felt the presence of God to such an extent that you don't care about anything else. At the same time, you have started on the journey, right?
Yeah, I'm starting to get what you're putting down now. So it's basically like when you're on the journey, you can be influenced so easily because you're not there yet. So you have to be fearful of things that are going to try to take you off of your path. All right, I got it. Okay. So.
You wanted to say something, Prabhu, you were.
Yeah, I guess even on the most elevated of platforms, there is a danger that somehow we think I'm invincible, and then Krishna teaches us maybe you're not so invincible. So so we should also, even in the elevated stage, we should still be afraid of falling into Maya. And there's a story of Srila Prabhupada on his last visit to the temple in London. He was praying before the deities and tears were coming from his eyes until Krishna Maharaj asked him later, Prabhupada, what were you praying? And he said, I was praying to Krishna, please don't let me fall into Maya. And he said, but Prabhupada, you're a pure devotee, you're not going to fall into Maya. He said, I won't fall into Maya because I keep praying like that. So there's a danger that we think we become proud, basically. And that's sort of like a snare. So we should also be afraid of falling into that trap. And so there's always should be a healthy fear, because the material energy is much, much more powerful than us. Not more powerful than Krishna, but she's working for Krishna to sometimes teach us a lesson if we, for once, lose that focus of shelter of the Lord. Anyway, just a thought.
Thank you. No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Just to underscore that point, Prabhupada once said that. He said, the problem with my disciples is they're not sufficiently afraid of Maya. They don't have a healthy enough fear of Maya.
What is Maya? That's obviously probably you're like 5 minutes. I don't know what any of this is.
So Maya is that, like the literal translation is that which is not. So Maya is illusion, in essence. It's illusion. Thinking that something, again, a very crude example that is given, thinking that a snake is a rope is Maya, because that's not the actual thing there, right?
The
So
rope is snake.
the rope is snake, yeah. Illusion, delusion, the way you put it. And that is Maya, So in a larger sense of spiritual life, when we think that something which is temporary is permanent, like when we think that this body, I have this body, but this body is temporary. But when I think that this body is all in all and I need to work on the external level to gratify myself and whatnot, then that is illusion, because then I am ascribing the property of eternality, of permanence, to something which is not permanent, to something which is temporary by nature. Sorry, I sometimes I feel, when somebody tells me something, I just say that again in more complicated terms.
Maybe I've heard Maya described as material delusion.
That made it even worse. I understand what you're saying.
Anyway, any other thoughts? So, does somebody want to sum it up? How do we not let this fear paralyze us from acting in the world? If not, I can summarize it. So, basically, there are.
That's what we're paying you for.
If you don't get a check. Okay.
So wonderful points by everybody. But so a couple of things came out. One is that when we are on the journey towards that spiritual elevated consciousness, spiritually elevated consciousness, we need to have the discrimination and a healthy discrimination, and that does not paralyze us from acting in the world, in the sense that when we are on the journey, we know on one level that the person I'm dealing with, although may not be externally a devotee or a spiritually elevated personality, but we know that in their essence they are the spirit soul, right? So we with that consciousness we deal with them without getting influenced by the ideology that somebody might be propagating. That is one. And then the other point that Jagannath Prabhu very beautifully mentioned was, even at a very elevated spiritual stage, even there, pride is a pitfall. So we need to be careful about pride. So the humility is a quality that begins spiritual life, that sustains spiritual life, and that which is there always. Even in perfection, humility doesn't go away. Okay? So that, and anyway, we have like 3 minutes. I just end this. So we are talking about waiting, right? And you all have been waiting for about an hour for me to finish this discussion. And so waiting is actually a reciprocation. So we spoke a lot about the devotee waiting for Krishna, but actually the scriptures say that Krishna is also waiting for us. He's also waiting for us to turn towards Him. He's waiting for us to redirect our heart's love towards Him. Right? So that is why actually, and scriptures also say that He's actually more eager to receive our love than we are to give Him love. Give Him our love. So Krishna is waiting for us. As soon as we turn towards Him, He is going to, make that wait go away pretty soon, depending on how intense we are. And to conclude, Krishna says in the Gita, right? Krishna is there in the heart. So we often say, about Janmashtami, we say welcoming Krishna in our hearts. But then I was thinking about this, I thought Krishna is already there in our heart. He has said this at multiple places in the Gita. Krishna is already there in our heart. So what does it mean by welcoming Krishna in our heart is, so although Krishna is in our hearts may not be in Krishna. Our hearts may not be directed to Krishna, our hearts may not be reposing towards Krishna. So that is why we need to redirect our heart's love to Krishna, and that is done through bhakti, through chanting the holy names, through discussing His glory, serving with love and offering prayers and so many other things, and that way we can then start feeling the presence of God. And with that consciousness, if we wait, if our wait is enthused, imbued with this consciousness, then our wait becomes very, very joyful, and then Krishna will appear. And actually, one speaker had said, you don't really, you should not celebrate Janmashtami on the day of Janmashtami. And everybody was like, what? And then he clarified, and he said, actually, for a devotee, Janmashtami is every day. Because for a devotee, when we chant the holy names of Krishna, Krishna manifests on the tongue. Because Krishna is not different than His name. So then for a devotee, Janmashtami is every day. From that perspective, he said. So as we wait for Janmashtami, as we wait for Krishna to appear, let's try to have this consciousness, right? Of course, not the consciousness that Krishna is a hindrance to my, as Krishna is an impediment to my progress, but Krishna as the remover of impediments to my progress, but even better, Krishna is the object of my progress. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I guess thank you so much, Jagannath Gopal, for expertly delivered class, nice presentation, and also helping all of us to remember that we're waiting for Janmashtami, and not just waiting for you to finish the class. We're waiting for Krishna to appear on Janmashtami, and not even that, we should be every morning eager for Krishna to appear in our hearts and in our lives, inviting Him in. So very wonderful. Thank you very much. Please, another round of applause for Jagannath Gopal. And after that class, we'll definitely ask you to come back again. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. So now we're going to ask you to put the chairs and cushions away. We're going to have Arti and ceremony and kirtan, and that will be followed by a few announcements, and then we'll be serving prasad in the back of the hall. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Shri Radha Muralidhar Gaurachand ki,
Jai.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Rasa
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
श्री श्री राधा मुरलीधर की हरिनाम संकीर्तन की
जय ओम विष्णु पाद परमात्मा परमेश्वर श्री महाराज जय श्री भगवान श्री श्री भगवान की जय लॉर्ड श्री श्री राधा मुरलीधर गौरचंद की श्री भगवान की तुलसी महाराज की साम वेद भक्तवृंद की वृंदावन नाम की भारतपुर नाम की पाकिस्तान की सविता जगत की साम वेद भक्तवृंद की ओ glorious is some glories oh glorious is some glories oh glorious is some glories oh glorious is Shri Guru and Shri Guru Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste, Namaste,
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlada ज्ञान सिमले भगवान की भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की
Hare Krishna. So thank you once again everyone for being here. Just a couple of quick announcements and then we'll move on to Prasadam. So thank you to everyone who is here for the Balaram Jayanti Festival on Friday. Very wonderful celebration. And we also have concluded our Jul and Yatra festivities. So continuing in the month of August with so many wonderful festivals leading up to next week, which is on Saturday the 16th, the wonderful divine appearance day of Lord Shri Krishna. Hari Bol! Shri Krishna Janmashtami ki! So this year, just so all of you are aware, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be open from about 12 noon for the darshan. The darshan will be open all day. We'll have kirtan here in the temple room, and also upstairs in 5E we'll have some different activities going on, different booths, prasadam, things like that, leading up to the morning or the evening when we will have a public abhishek downstairs in 2W, and then we'll continue with programs up here. We're going to have a play, and we have a dance, and we have some classes and kirtan, so it's going to be a full day of festivities. So please tell your family, your friends, your neighbors, your boss, your colleagues, whomever you'd like, invite them to come along for this wonderful occasion of Shri Krishna Janmashtami. There's also plenty of opportunities to volunteer. If anyone would like to be involved in helping to serve on that day, you can speak to me directly, or you can go to the website, bhakticenter.org, and you can sign up under the Janmashtami festival section. And also any sponsorships, if anyone would like to help out by sponsoring for the festival, then you're also most welcome to do that. The day after Janmashtami is the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And on that day we have a special event that's happening. There is going to be an India Day parade down Madison Avenue that goes from 12 until 2, which the city has invited us to participate in directly. So we will have a section in the parade with a Ratha Yatra cart. Lord Jagannath, Baladev Subhadra, and also Srila Prabhupada will be on the cart for his appearance day. So if you would like to participate in that and be in the kirtan that's going down Madison Avenue as part of the parade, which I guess millions of people must see, and it's probably televised and so many things. My understanding is it's the biggest India Day parade outside of India. So it will be a massive event, so we need as many devotees to come and participate. So there is a registration link that I can give you so you can register. You have to register to be able to be in the parade, otherwise you can be on the sidelines, but we'd rather see you in the procession like that with us. Then we're going to come here in the evening for festivities starting around 5 o'clock. And we'll have an evening of remembrances of Srila Prabhupada, offerings, Vyas Puja, Pushpanjali to Srila Prabhupada, and that will conclude also with a feast in the evening. So lots of festivities next weekend. Make sure you block it all out in your calendar and you spend it here with us. So now we're going to move on to the vegan feast, which is in the back of the room, which we have every week. Also, again, anyone who would like to make a donation, you're welcome to do that. I think if anyone would like to help afterwards for the cleanup, we're a bit short. A few devotees are traveling at the moment, so they're not here. So if anyone would like to help with the cleanup today, you can come and speak to me also. So before we take the prasad, we're going to chant the prasadam prayers, so you can join in if you know them. If not, you can meditate on the transcendental sound vibration. Mahaprasade Govinde, Mahaprasade Govinde, Nam Brahmani Vaishnave, Nam Brahmani Vaishnave, Svopa Punya Vatan Raja, Vishvashona Vijayate, Sharirada Vijaya, Jogindriya Taika, Jivapane Vishaya Sagare, Javayati, Logomoy Sidomati, Takajatakatina Samsare, Krishna Paradoyamoy, Kori Vada Jiva Jai, Swaprasana Diloba Sayanam Ritapa Radha Krishna Gunaga Pramadeko Shri Chaitanya Nitai Janima Janitai Bhagavat Sravana ki Srila Prabhupada ki